Seat Podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all usually recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. But if you are watching on the YouTube or listening really carefully over on a podcasting platform, you might well notice that we are in something a little bit different today. And that is the 1971 Reliant Scimitar that we've named Jaffa for its fantastic yet orange colour. And we're going to be telling you about why Jamie got it a month ago, what we found to be completely different to our experiences of driving anything else that we've owned or driven, and kind of what we like about it, and whether, to tie it in with the season, it is the perfect Christmas car. If you've been a listener for the podcast for over a year now, you'll know that we had my dad on last year talking about my family's concept of a Christmas car. My parents did own a Reliant Scimitar when I was younger, but it wasn't bought as a Christmas car, but we could see how this might fit into the requirements of one of those. But we'll get onto that. I'm going to start with a little bit of the kind of backstory as to why Jamie bought a Reliant Scimitar. So, why did you want a Reliant Scimitar?
Well, it was getting to those colder months, and I have a Triumph Spitfire as well. So, in a Triumph Spitfire, there's gaps everywhere, and it's very, very cold.
And also, we've had a lot of issues with that Triumph Spitfire, so it wasn't proven as trustworthy and as fun for you to drive. You enjoy working on it, but it wasn't proving as fun for you to drive as I get with Peggy.
A big problem is the car could be as fun as it could ever be, but you never trust it because you've been working on it so much.
Yeah.
It becomes more of a car you'll always work on rather than a car that you'd enjoy.
Yeah. So we'd started to kind of look for other options, kind of tentatively and stuff. But my mum's really good on Facebook Marketplace and the Facebook groups, and once we'd kind of hinted at the fact that we might be interested in getting a Reliant Scimitar, and she loved her Reliant Scimitar, she started sending us loads of them, and we were messaging a lot of them when they came up, and they seemed decent. They don't come up really super often, and when it does come up, there just tend to be kind of 2 or 3 people that are all interested. There'd been a couple of times where we'd been picked to the post, and it had been really sad because we'd seen the car then get posted on the groups, and people were like, "Oh, so excited to have got my Scimitar now," and we were desperate for that experience of having actually kind of won one of these Facebook marketplaces.
And really, we wanted one before the Triumph Spitfire as well, because that's what we were originally looking at, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Even before, but then a Spitfire popped up, and it was a nice one at the time, and we went for that instead of looking for a Scimitar because of the same reasons, right? Because
it was tricky to find one.
Tricky to find one. You'll always get beaten to it because I think the answer is when you find one, you go have a look at it. If you like it, you buy it. You don't, way around.
Yeah, and that brings us to this one. This one came up, and you really liked the colour, you really liked the styling of it, and it wasn't super far away, and so we were like, we will come and see it tomorrow, basically. And the guy was like, "Oh well, we've got some people coming next week, but yeah, you can come and see it tomorrow." And we'd learned that you don't kind of hesitate if there's one that looks pretty decent.
He was surprised that we were taking it that day, weren't we? Like,
yeah, we went and viewed it, and you went out for a test drive in it. You were like, "Yeah, this is fine," and he'd had it for like 6 years, and seemed like a decent enough guy to be buying a car from, and had kind of a pretty open and honest discussion with us about what he thought the issues were. And so yeah, he was a bit sad about it going, really.
Yeah. As you would be. It's a lovely car.
It is a lovely car. And so we were like, yes, we'll take it, and we'll take it right here, right now, save us coming back down for it. So we'd gone down in the Kia Picanto, and we had a pretty interesting trip back, really.
Yeah.
I had a bit of an incident with the Kia Picanto, and we had a flat tyre. And the car came with a spare gearbox, which is great, but that spare gearbox was stored on top of the spare wheel for the Kia Picanto to get it back. So we had to pull over into a place. You had to come and find me because you'd gone on ahead.
I'd already gone over a few hundred metres ahead.
Yeah. And then we had to get the gearbox out, which is a 2-man lift.
Yeah.
And then fit the spare tyre, and of course it was a tyre on the front, so then we had to swap them all around, and eventually we got it all sorted. But you just bought this fantastic 3-litre V6, and you were stuck behind me on a space saver tyre, go 40 to 50 miles an hour on these roads. So you didn't really get to experience lots of it.
No, I mean, I was still getting used to driving the car as well, right? Even when I was lost trying to find you, I was lost trying to find first gear more than anything. Yeah, it was quite funny, like trying to like get it off the guy's drive and getting used to the gearbox and stuff like that. We had walkie-talkies between us. Yeah. And I was like, "How's it going?" And it was really apparent to me that you were enjoying yourself, because you sounded really happy on the phone. On the walkie-talkie. How was that first drive? First drive was amazing. I mean, even all the subsequent drives as well. I mean, it drives a lot different to any other car that we've driven.
Yeah.
There's more than double the
power.
Maybe triple in some cases the power.
Yeah.
So getting to drive a car like this, where it's not a project car, straight off the bat.
Yeah, it's not got a list of things that needed doing. Because we drove that Types a bit far home, and we immediately were like, okay, there is stuff that we need to try and get sorted on this as quickly as possible, that hadn't really been picked up in the test drive. But immediately you were like, this is great. Yeah. And also, we had only really driven 1-litre cars. Pretty much, like the biggest is the 1300, I guess, with the Triumph Spitfire, or was the Kia Picanto a 1.4? Either way, not big cars. And I guess I'd never grasped what a difference the literage to an engine makes in terms of the amount of power.
Yeah. How much pull you have.
Yeah. And like how you're not worried about like we just did, kind of pulling out onto a big road, and whether you're going to be able to get up to speed with the traffic and things. I don't worry about it with Peggy, but when I first got her, it was a noticeable difference to the speed of the traffic, and you get used to it. But with this, we've not really had that. It's been able to kind of get up to speed a lot more than we were used to. And it's the first car that we've had that you put your foot on the accelerator and you can get that whoosh back into the back of the seats. Yeah. What else do you like about it?
The overdrive.
Yeah. That was a big thing for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be able to drop your revs down to 2,000 when you're sitting at 60 is great. It's great in a classic car.
Yeah.
Because you feel guilty about pushing those revs on an older engine. At least I do.
Yeah. At least I do. Is that a dig at me?
No, well.
Yeah, and it is something that you were like, that's the other thing with these, is that they come up, but a lot of them have got the automatic gearbox, or they don't have the overdrive, and you were like, I'd really quite like an overdrive. And I kind of dismissed it, and I was like, if it's a nice car, maybe we just go for it. But this one came up, it had the overdrive, and it works, which is really nice. And yeah, now that you've got it, I can really see. Yeah,
I mean, we've never driven an automatic as well daily, so to be able to have to skip that trouble of trying to learn how, I mean, it's just a go-kart, isn't it? But still, trying to learn how a go-kart operates, not trying to push your clutch pedal and then not breaking the car kind of thing.
Yeah, it is a different experience, and on an old automatic based car as well, it can be a little bit different. But yeah, to get what you actually wanted in terms of drivetrain and things was a fantastic bonus. And yeah, the overdrive is really fun in terms of being able to kind of kick it up and down as and when you want.
Yeah, it works perfectly, doesn't it? I mean, we've had talks with friends about what we should do to keep the overdrive working, and apparently using them because you got them is how to keep them, and not using them is probably what kills most of the things on a car, right?
Yeah. Most things on it do seem to work, so it's really surprising because we got the logbook back like a week after you bought it, and it said 14 previous owners. And this car does not feel like a car that's had 14 previous owners, because usually it means that loads of stuff has like skipped through the gaps, been ignored, someone's just kind of sold it on and things. And I think it's in Jaffa's favour that the last guy had it for quite a long time, and really got it to how he wanted it, that you don't notice that there has been 14 previous owners as much. But some of them have clearly really loved it, because we put the number plate into Google, didn't we? And what did we find?
We found an old entry of, what was it, someone and Tony and Jackie, I think.
It was their website that they put up.
Of all of their cars. It was listed as all of the cars that we've owned, but it was actually all just Scimitars. Yeah,
and they'd owned this in like 1978 when they had 2 kids, because we were like, oh, the interior's really nice, and also the back seats look like they've barely been used.
Basically.
Yeah. So we hadn't thought that anyone had ever really had anyone in the back. But on this website they'd said that they'd had their 2 kids going around in it in the back, and
young teenagers as well. So.
But had then sold it when they got kind of too tall, because there isn't loads of space in the back seat of this, because this is an SE5, and they get a little bit bigger on the SE6s. But for us, we don't intend to very often have people in the back, but also coming from a family that has managed to squeeze 4 people in a Hillman in, 4 fully grown adults, like, people kind of get used to having their feet trapped a little bit and squidged in when they need to, so it's fine. And we liked the styling of the SE5s a little bit more on the front end and stuff.
I like the lights, the lights are nice. I mean, even the SE6s, but are quite nice on the front end, but the SE5s are nice as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning that our final push to actually get one was visiting the Owners Club stand at the NEC, and sitting. That was the first time that you'd sat in one. The first time that I could remember sitting in one. I'd clearly been in one as a child, but have no recollection of it.
It was a lovely club as well.
They were really friendly and really encouraging, and really helpful.
They had a concourse simmer on the stand, didn't they? And you're always a bit nerve-wracking when you get anywhere near a concourse car. Because you know that the money they spent on that car is clearly one of the biggest passions in their life. So. But he was really, really encouraging about us both getting in, trying it out for size, explaining all the differences between the 5s and the 6s, so that we knew what we were looking for, where for you to look when you were going to buy one in terms of problem areas and stuff. And we think we've got a good one. Because you've gone straight into essentially dailying it, haven't you? Yeah, basically. I mean, when you get a car where dailying it is a lot easier than what you had with the modern dailying it, you're going to daily this one, aren't you? I mean, this one can pull bigger miles, get out of situations easier, so it makes sense to go on this one, right?
And you were having fun with it.
Most of all,
and that was the thing that I have always enjoyed about dailying Peggy, is that doing the commutes and stuff like that is really fun, really enjoyable. And that's what you've now found with this. It's that you trust it, it's been fun, your workmates have enjoyed it.
Going over to Tesco's on lunch breaks and stuff.
And you had a bit of fun with the Dixie horn.
I mean, when I first pulled up to work, and the gates was just opening,
say that you got it.
Yeah.
And they were really impressed with it.
Yeah, they liked it.
Yeah, it woke your brother up from a nap
Yeah.
because of the V6 burbling away. And yeah, I think you're really proud of it, aren't you?
I really like this guy,
Yeah. In terms of Christmas car, things that make a good Christmas car: lots of space, comfortable driving for long distances and stuff like that. How do we think the Scimitar ticks those boxes?
It's our Christmas car, isn't it? I mean, it ticks all the boxes. I mean, even if it wasn't just us, and if we had 2 kids or something, you've got 2 comfy seats in the back there.
Yeah.
Put presents on their lap.
But the boot space is decent as is, isn't it? You can fit quite a lot in through the back window.
Depends how generous you are with your extended family and the amount of presents you give them.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
If you're one present, one person kind of person, that'll be fine. You put all of them on in that boot bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's loads of space in it.
Yeah. But having the ability for us to be able to put those seats down, be able to fit loads of stuff in the back, that would be really useful if we had big distances to cover at Christmas and stuff, with lots of presents and lots of luggage. But also is going to be really useful for us in terms of big camping trips and going away for long trips. We've got a big trip to North Wales next year, haven't we, where we're there for like basically over a week, and to be able to like get a lot of the camping stuff or luggage in here as well as in Peggy, because they'll both be going on that trip, it's going to make a nice difference. Yeah. So one thing that we have noticed with this car, if we were going to use it as a Christmas car, is that we need to get a different place for the spare tyre, because at the minute the spare tyre is in our lounge, because the tyre on the car, on the spare wheel, is from 1986 by the looks of it. So we need to get a new tyre fitted to it, and we're just trying to work out what we need to get it fitted to be able to fit in the engine bay eventually, because at the minute the engine bay has the Dixie horns fitted across where the spare tyre would usually be, and so that's a whole thing that we'll probably look into in the new year in terms of getting the right size tyre on it, because the tyre that's on it is bigger than what's on the car at the minute.
Way bigger, yeah. Someone at some point had clearly thought that this car looked a lot better with massive tyres.
Yeah.
The tyre looks good, but usability,
and that might be why the Dixie horns got fitted where they are, because I don't think that spare tyre would have fitted in the engine bay where it's supposed to go, because it is so big, and so because it takes up basically the whole of the boot if the seats are up as it is, so it is quite a big wheel. But if it was the same size that is on the car at the moment, which based on how the speedo works and stuff seems to be the correct size, so that's something that we'll have to look into. But I guess the other weird thing is that like Peggy is 1968, Wyvern is 1970, and this seems like a world away in terms of like technology and dials and stuff compared to them.
There's a massive gap, isn't there?
Yeah, and I mean Peggy is obviously based on a much older design, based on like a much older like way of doing a car, and this is aimed at a completely different market, aimed at a completely different price range as well than the early 70s or late 60s, early 70s Morris Minors would have been aimed at. But even so, to think that like this was available at the same time as both of our other cars, and also my family's other cars in some respects, it's kind of crazy. It does feel like a much more modern car than we are used to in terms of our old cars. How are you finding all of the dials? Do you pay attention to all of them?
I pay attention to every single dial. I love dials.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Apart
you love
from
top trumps, I love dials. I see the oil, I see the temp, I see the RPM. at night I don't see the MPH gauge because the light sometimes doesn't work.
Yeah, there is some Reliant electrics going on, and it was quite interesting that like some friends of ours were like, oh, that's because the body isn't metal, so they've got no obvious place to earth it to, and I hadn't really thought about that. So it goes to earth points that they put in, and those get corroded and cause things. So there is some bizarre Reliant electrics going on, but you know, you don't need to see your speedo, and when it's dark, you can kind of work it out from the revs.
I feel how fast it is.
Yeah. And to be honest, I feel like the Reliant electrics could be a lot worse than they are. Like things are going reasonably well.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
All the important parts are working.
Yeah.
Radio.
What's your favourite thing about the car?
Well, it's the engine, isn't it, really?
That's not what you said to me yesterday.
What did I say yesterday?
The chairs.
Alright, yeah, okay. Maybe it's the chairs. Maybe chairs are my second thing. I mean, really the car is the engine, right?
Yeah.
And I love a lot of things about the car. The engine and the way it pulls is probably the main one.
Yeah.
But beyond that, if I was to give you a non-basic answer, it would be the chairs. I mean, the chairs, they feel new, right?
Yeah, they are really comfy. And again, 14 owners, yet this seems to be like the original interior, and yet they don't feel like they've been overused and sagging. Yeah. Yours has got some kind of, I guess, patina on the driver's seat, which you'd expect because it's the seat that's used the most.
Yeah, but doesn't accept the function of the chair, it's just the looks, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and it must be weird having so much adjustability to the seat.
Yeah, even on I mean, it's a little bit more stiffer than a modern car, the rails it sits on.
Yeah.
But that's probably just due to age and lack of grease or something. But even compared to a modern car, the range on how you can get it back and forward is basically the same, right?
Yeah. And again, you look at like Peggy and Wyvern's adjustability, not that much, and this is out at the same sort of time, and you've got so much adjustability to make it really comfortable for those long distance things.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, Peggy is a really amazing about town kind of car. Great for getting into car parking spaces, great for getting in and out of really easily, because getting in and out of this isn't super easy.
I mean, it's not a hardest car to get in and out of.
No, Wyvern is much more tricky to get in and out of.
Yeah.
But this feels like the sort of car that you want to get into, sit down, get quite comfy, do a long journey like we're kind of doing today, and really enjoy it, and then get out at the other end feeling quite refreshed.
Yeah.
We've not had issues doing long journeys with Peggy, but I think this will be quite a different experience on those longer trips. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, I love the car so far.
Yeah. How are you loving the fuel economy?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're buying, what was our first one, around...
Yeah, so we had to put some fuel in it before we drove home.
Yeah.
And we had to stop at a Shell station, and it was like £1.60 something a litre. And
ended up spending nearly £100 in total on fuel.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And your face was a picture, because you'd gone from filling the Kia up, which is filled up basically at £35. Peggy's about the same. Wyvern is a pain to fill up at the moment, but doesn't...
Way smaller tank.
And this takes a lot. And I think we did some maths, and it was basically like, on a long journey, Peggy and this would probably need to be filled up at about the same sort of time. Yeah. But this would take a lot more. But again, you're getting a very different experience on that longer journey.
Yeah, this is kind of an executive's car, isn't it? The shoot and brake car, so you're expected to go very comfortably across the country, right?
Yeah. when we both go to North Wales next year, we're both going to have an interesting comparison on that trip, and maybe we'll come back and do a comparison on having done the same journey in two very different cars but from the same era.
Yeah. I mean, it would essentially be no, my car's better, no, my car's better.
Yeah. But that just means that we've both got cars that we're really happy with, and that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, can't ask for anything more.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a pretty good note to end this on. Thank you very much for coming on.
No worries.
It's a little special edition when Jamie comes on because it's not very often. But it's your car, so I know I've talked way more, but I wanted you to be able to at least share some of your thoughts on the car. But we love it, and it's a very welcome addition to the collection. And I think it will probably stay around for some time.
Quite a few years.
Yeah.
As long as it behaves itself.
Yep, that's all we can ask. Some behaviour from it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring. Why did you want a Reliant Scimitar?
Because
Princess Anne owned one, right?
Princess Anne had one.
And she's your absolute idol.
Well, clearly she had great taste.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely come to that opinion after owning one and driving one for a month.